Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 227. And good morning, happy Sunday. And first things first, happy, congratulations to all the graduates who graduated yesterday. Either from the university or from your local high schools. The one thing I noticed yesterday, doesn't matter if you're a college graduate or high school graduate, you know. Uh, 'Cause I had a couple of friends yesterday and graduated with their PhDs, and they've been at this for a minute, man. Their story is a story that's just filled with just you know being persistent in times of uncertainty, right? I remember way back in 2020 when they were set to graduate, you know, and then COVID happened, and everything that they had lined up, uh, they had to put on hold because of COVID. And like when I say everything, I mean jobs, all types of stuff to put on hold because of COVID, right? But like they persevered and they made it happen, and kudos to them because how they did it was crazy because uh they have young kids, and so it's like, could you just imagine how stressful, you know, anybody who's got a college degree knows how stressful that is. Um, but to but then you throw in raising a family on top of that. It's like that's stressful as fuck. And it just makes you think, man, because it's like it's always amazing to me when people want to talk about their situation and how they can't do something and there's somebody else doing the exact same thing and they're actually succeeding at it. So that tells me one thing, that the person who's saying now, he or she's saying, "Oh, I can't do this because of my kids, X, Y, and Z." That just means one thing: you don't want it. You know, like you don't want it because it's not convenient for you. And I know I said this story before about this one particular person that I used to be friends with. You know, I stopped being friends with this individual because of just a plethora of issues, right? And not that they're a bad person, because they're not, but they're bad for me. And I remember when this individual kept on complaining about their current job status, right? They kept on complaining about it. And when they had a chance to change it, you know, they fumbled, and it's like, yo, like, why would you do something, you know? Um, I can understand traffic, whatever it is, but it's like then when this individual signed up for everything again twice and then just totally whiffed on it, and it's like, no, you don't want it. And I had to slowly start distancing myself from this individual because it's clear that they love to talk about what they wanted to do rather than just do it. Because when I say that there are people out there who are doing the same thing you are, there was this one person who is now a police officer who's raising 3, 4 kids by herself with no support or very minimal support, you know. And her parents didn't believe in her, and nobody else really believed in her, but she believed in herself. And I'm like, if she can do it, then what's your excuse? Because it just makes me wonder. It's like, how do you sit there and make excuse after excuse? It's like, no, it's like you just don't want it, and that's fine. That's perfectly okay. But please don't ever sit there and complain about how your life turned out for X, Y, and Z, because you know what, when you had the opportunity to change it, you didn't. It's like one of my best friends who I grew up with, out of the four of us, he was probably the smartest. Um, that was a dude, whatever he excelled at, whatever he put his mind to, he excelled at, and it's like, I look back on our life, at 36, 37 years old, and I'm like, bro, it's like, it's sad because it's like when when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, you think, like you don't know what life is gonna hold. Then you hit 18 and then life just fucking goes into super drive and it's like, it's a whole bunch of shit happens, right? And it's like, I just look at that shit, like, yeah. The way I look at it is like, you can't sit there and blame your situation. You can't sit there and blame other people. It's either you want it or you don't. And if you don't want it, that's cool. But please get out the way. Get out the way for people that actually want to, succeed and do better and have successful lives. It's like, don't downplay a motherfucker just simply because you don't have it together. Like, don't downplay somebody else because you made some horrible life decisions and now you're stuck doing X, Y, and Z. And when I tell you, I literally know people doing the same shit since high school, and it's sad. Working the same jobs, doing the same thing, not making no progress, just out here just fucking up. And like I said, it's sad because it's like, you're like, like, how did my life turn out so differently and then theirs didn't? Or it's like guys who end up getting locked up and whatnot. I'm like, and we all grew up in the same environment, but it's like, I just look at things like that. It's like, oh, it's like you just didn't want to change or whatever it is, and it's like, and it's sad, man. But you can't sit there and like wonder what if, or second guess your choices. It's like, no, it's like, if you wanted to change, you would. I'm a firm believer. If somebody tells you they're trying to do something, that they're not doing nothing at all. Because if you're trying to do something, that means you're too busy talking about it. Going back to that former friend of I had, right? She used to always say, oh, well, I'm trying to establish boundaries. I'm like, no, you're not doing nothing. Because if you were establishing boundaries, you would have established those boundaries. You wouldn't have, let people walk all over you, do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, and I remember once she was telling me something like, I don't know why all this bad shit keeps happening to me, this and this and that. Because I was like, because you have no boundaries. You have no boundaries, so people just keep abusing you in that way because they know that they can. And once they know that they can, they're not going to stop. Like, why would they stop? It doesn't make any sense to stop. It's like somebody who stays in a toxic relationship. And when I say toxic, I mean the definition, I mean emotionally, psychologically, physically, whatever it is, right? That's what I mean. Like none of this bullshit about how people say, oh yeah, you're toxic, this and this and that, when they're pointing out behavior. No, I'm not talking about that. And what's really ridiculous to me is like when people stay in these relationships and then they want to take no accountability whatsoever. And then when it's pointed out to them, I'm like, no, it's like people probably warned your ass. They told you, you just didn't want to listen to them. And now you're stuck in a situation where you got, God forbid, you got kids by this dude or kids by this girl, and your whole life is fucked up. Like, people don't stop and think about that. They don't stop and think about, everything else that happens, when you stay in a relationship like that. It's like, because I tell people straight up, it's like, it is nobody's responsibility to save yourself except you. If you can't, if you can't see the red flags or if you can't see, X, Y, and Z happening, that means you have to take off your rose-colored glasses, and you have to understand that it's you. It's not the other person, bro. It is you. And then once you figure that out, you'll be okay. It's like, I hate when people want to be like, oh, X, Y, and Z out there. It's like, no, it's like, take some accountability for your shit. Understand that it's also you and your inability to want to leave. It's like how I know people who will stay in marriages that they no longer feel the love, and I'm like, then they want to be like X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, and I'm not condoning cheating at all. I'm not. I'm just saying, because it's like, if you don't feel love, then get up from the table. Like, take the necessary steps to secure your, your financial freedom or whatever it is, or create a support system where where you can eventually leave the situation, because you don't want to be stuck in a situation where it's like, you end up losing yourself. And I've actually had people that I know and I care about commit suicide, because of the exact same thing. I knew a girl, years ago, during COVID. Her boyfriend at the time, didn't like the fact that, she knew a lot of dudes. Now, I'm going to keep it real with you. It's like, it was just on some friendly shit. Like, none of us were trying to, sleep with her or anything like that, right? And it got to the point where he went through her phone, checked the DMs, checked the text messages, and it's like, because a lot of us dudes, we're dealing with girls with an X, Y, and Z, and so, like, any dude who has a female friend, but like, hey, like, shorty said this, but what does she really mean? And, that type of shit, right? And she'd be like, oh, well, X, Y, and Z, boom, 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 boom. This is what she really means. All right, bet. And, and so when all that happened, then COVID happens, right? And so we slowly start losing contact with it. And then, like, a month into COVID, she commits suicide. And it's because it was the isolation, and like, I heard the boyfriend broke up with her, all kinds of crazy shit, right? And it's like, and I just look at the situation like that as like, and everybody who knew of the situation and knew of him were like, yeah. Because there are some dudes who will literally drive you to kill yourself, or some people that will literally drive you to kill yourself, simply because they're that fucking chaotic, They're that fucking, insecure, And I remember once this guy told me, he was in the gym one day, and he said, well, like, my girl knows who she can and can't talk to. I'm like, and mind you, these are some guys that, that she knew for decades longer, like longer than she knew him. So I just kind of look at that and I'm like, yep. Some things, some people just, just ain't worth it. And that's what it is, man. I think a lot of people would just be stuck in a situation where they're like, well, this happened, that happened. I'm like, yeah, that sucks. And it does suck, And I think a lot of times women in general, and men too, to an extent, like, they'll stay in the situation, and they'll try to make it work, because it's like, either you don't want to be alone or whatever it is, or I don't know what the situation is, right? I was like, all I know is like, yo, it's like, so-and-so treats you like dirt, why are you still there? Or so-and-so does this, why are you still there? So-and-so does that, why are you still there? Because when you do shit like that, and you tell somebody else, non-verbally, that they can do whatever they want to do, you can't complain. it's like going back to my friend, right? Or my former friend. Uh, she had broken up with her fiance because, because the dude didn't want to get married, right? And then, and in the process of all that, like, you know, he said, well, I don't want to get married, this and that. And like her first instinct was, oh, okay, let me go check your phone. And then she found pictures and text messages of this girl that he used to work with or whatever it is. And it's like, you know, they was off doing a thing. And I'm like, yeah, but what does that got to do with him not wanting to get married? And it's like, there's probably a reason why he went off and did what he did. You know? And it's like, and she was like, what? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm not backing him up. But guys like that, you know, or guys who go off and cheat, you know, for whatever reason, they're most likely not being seen or heard, you know, with the person that they're with. And it was really interesting too because she would say something because they were together for years, and they were like, oh yeah, you know, well, like we never argued about anything. And all that time that you were dating him and living with him, you never had one argument. That seems kind of weird. And she was like, what? That's weird. Because how can you live with somebody and not have one argument of how they live or whatever it is, right? That's just awkward. It's like, that's just weird. It's like, And like once that facade drops, you know, and you figure out who you're dealing with, it's like yeah, I can see why he never argued with you, because it was pointless. Because even when I would try to point out behavior to her, and like, you know, like she would get defensive. I'm like yo, I'm literally explaining to you how you're acting. If you can't figure that out, then it's like, then why are you here? You know. Why are you sitting there blaming somebody else, you know, or blaming a situation when it's you? Or it's like, I remember when she got divorced, and she was saying, oh, you know, well, like, you know, something about like her ex-husband was cheating on her and this and this and that. I'm like, oh, so is that why you got divorced? And mind you, because I didn't know her back then. But when she was telling me this stuff, I was like, oh, okay, like that seems like a pretty good reason to get divorced, because he's out there cheating on you, right? And then she was like, no, like he wasn't cheating on me while we were married. Like I found out during the divorce proceedings that he was dating somebody else. I'm like, wait, so the reason why you guys got divorced was because of what? And she said, well, I got tired trying to make it work. Okay, but why are you shocked that he moved on? Why are you shocked that he just like was like, you know what, I'm good, and he went off and found somebody else? It just happens that he was dating somebody else while you were divorcing him. And it's funny how you want to paint him as the bad dude, because you tried to do the same shit with me, and I'm like, nobody's painting you as the bad dude. Nobody's painting you as this one, you know, X, Y, and Z. I'm literally pointing out your behavior. And if you can't change that, then you'll never get anywhere. You know? Like you'll never get anywhere because you just don't want to look in the mirror and be X, Y, and Z. It's like dealing with somebody who never takes self accountability or responsibility for his or her actions. It's like after a while, it's like, okay, why am I here? Why am I dealing with somebody who doesn't want to take accountability for how they act? And you really got to ask yourself that question, because it's like, how can you sit there and like say all this shit, but in reality, it's not even that. In reality, it's your inability to be self-aware, to take responsibility and to understand that it's you. It's nobody else but you. And if you don't think that that's a real thing, then you're absolutely mistaken. Because like I said, like there's people out there in the worst situations than you who are taking accountability and responsibility for their actions, and you're not. You know, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I'm not flawed, because I am. You know, but I'm never gonna sit there and blame somebody else for a situation that I was a 100% participate in and blame them. You know, it just doesn't make any sense to me to do that. Like, why would I sit there and do that to somebody when it's not necessary? You know? Like, why do that? Why? Why subject yourself to something that, you know, that's avoidable? And like I said in the beginning of this episode, bro, it's like you have to be willing to take accountability and responsibility for your actions. Like, don't blame it on your situation. Don't blame it on your kids. Don't blame it on your ex. Don't blame it on your husband. Don't blame it on your wife. It's like, it's your responsibility 100% of the time to take accountability for your actions and to keep your emotions in check. It's nobody else's job to do that. And that's another topic for another episode. But because I think a lot of people, especially women, they always say like, well, you know, well, it's the man's job to help a woman with living a feminine energy. I'm like, yeah, but it's also your job to recognize your emotions and deal with it accordingly. If you don't know how to do that, then how the fuck can somebody else help you get better? If you can't even regulate yourself, you know? If you can't regulate yourself, then why are you here? Like, make it make sense. Like, stop thinking that other people have to put up with your bullshit, have to put up with, your insecurities, have to put up with your fears, your doubts. Because we don't have to do that, you know? Nobody in a relationship has to do anything like that. And I'm going to tell you one thing, it gets tired really quickly, you know? It gets tired when all you do is complain, and all you do is X, Y, and Z, and it's like, bro, like, what do you expect? Like, you expect people to put up with your bullshit, to put up with everything that you put them through, and you expect them to still be around? No, it doesn't work that way, man. A lot of people are selfish. They just think about themselves. And you know what? When the other person does that too, then they want to feel a certain way about it. But I'm like, you can't. You can't feel a certain way about it because it's hypocritical. Everybody wants to talk about how you made them feel X, Y, and Z. Like, oh, so we're not going to talk about the disrespect that you did. We're not going to talk about X, Y, and Z, right? And I think a lot of people have, they struggle with that. They struggle with the fact that it's like, it's like some people think you're an asshole. Okay, cool. Why? They don't have an answer. And I'm like, how you going to call me an asshole but not have any fucking proof as to why? Where's the evidence? Oh, because I'm pointing out behavior? Oh, because I'm pointing out how you overreacted to a situation? Oh, because I'm pointing out that when we ask you, hey, baby, what's wrong? And you don't know. And then you get mad at us for not helping. How can we help you if you don't even know what's wrong? You know what I mean? So that's just something that I think about from time to time because it's always on my mental, But all right, y'all, this is 24 minutes of your life that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keep it the 4 P's, private player, positive pushing, and I'll see y'all next week. I love y'all, ghosts, and like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. Peace.